Hello everyone, welcome to another Voice Essentials live hangout. It is good to have you here. I'm just checking my audio levels, making sure that we're all good. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching this as a replay, welcome. You are the lifeblood of these live shows. Despite the fact that you're not watching live, it is great to have you hanging out with us, and it's always good to know that you get so much out of these shows. If you are watching the show live, and already we've got a few of you jumping in, we've got Catherine there from Las Vegas and Mark from, whereabouts are you from, Mark, again? I think Toledo, John is from Toledo, and we've got a whole heap of our usuals. Yuhui and Matt are all jumping in. It's good to have you join us, and Kimberly as well. Thanks for joining in. We have got a really fun show for you today because this hangout, you get to meet someone who has become not only a person who you kind of all have got to know during the live chats, but has become a really integral part of the Voice Essentials community, a main player, if you will, and we're going to meet her a little bit later. Of course, I am talking about Linda. And she is just fabulous, and it is going to be my great privilege to introduce you to her in just a moment. Before we do get into talking with Linda, and she's going to be sharing her experiences of learning to sing. And I thought, we would deep dive into this for a bit, because I get a lot of singing teachers onto the channel, but we don't always get the opportunity to hear the other side of the story, the students' side of the story, and so I thought that would be a bit of fun. So we'll be talking to Linda in a moment. Before we do, just a couple of housekeeping things, just to let you know, this is the last live YouTube event that we will be doing for 4 weeks. So it's not the last event altogether, it's just the last one for the next 4 weeks. We're going to take a short, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, a short summer break, if you will, and here down here, it's literally we've had these massive polar winds blowing up from down in Antarctica, and it's just turned really, we're really in the grip of winter down here. So we're going to be taking 4 weeks break. I'm going to be taking a bit of a well-earned holiday over that time, and we will be coming back. When we come back, the first show back on the 16th of July will be with a guy by the name of Chris Johnson. He's a singing teacher, and some of you may have come across his work. He has a podcast that he does with another mate called The Naked Vocalist. We are going to be finding out what is that about, The Naked Vocalist. I have a suspicion it isn't about learning to sing naked, so we'll find out what that's all about when we come back in 4 weeks. In 4 weeks' time. So that'll be a lot of fun. Just an update on the production of the second exercise CD. Many of you own the first CD, Voice Essentials 1, which you can see down the bottom being, just that one there. And many of you have got a lot out of that. We are in production for Voice Essentials 2, more of an intermediate level. And so if you've enjoyed Voice Essentials 1, I know you are going to get a lot out of Voice Essentials 2. I'm really excited about it. All completely fresh, new exercises. And I think we're up to I think there's going to be about 16 new activities on that CD. So, and they're just going to be available as downloads. I keep calling it a CD. How old are CDs? In fact, I've made the decision to not actually print any CDs, and I'm not going to be rerunning a print of Voice Essentials 1 as a CD. They are only, from now on, going to be available as digital copies for download via my website. And of course, if you don't already have Voice Essentials 1, you can go and grab a copy at the Djarts website, and you can see a link there, and it's in the description section below. So I wanted to just update you. We go into studio for me to do voiceovers and sing on the tracks and everything in a couple of weekends' time. Yeah, it is in a couple of weekends' time, and then I'll get my good friend Renee Suddy, who she'll be coming in a couple of weeks after that to do the female vocals, and then it's got to be engineered, mixed, mastered, and hopefully it'll be ready for release sometime in August. That's what I'm pitching at. Fingers crossed it all goes to plan. I hope you're settled in. I hope you've got a cup of something that you feel, if it's down here in Australia, it should be something warm and something that's going to warm the cockles of your heart. If you're up in the Northern Hemisphere, grab your favourite glass of whatever and settle in, because we are going to have a really fun discussion, a really fun chat with none other than Linda Dalton.
Sound check. Check 1, check 2.
And here she is. Hello, Linda.
Hi, Dr. Dan. Hello, everyone.
This is, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you to Linda. Linda is not a stranger to many of you, because Linda has been a part of these live hangouts for I don't know how long. How long have you been watching these live hangouts?
About a year. I was thinking back to March last year.
Yeah.
I started watching, and I remember chatting to you. You were doing your outdoors thing, and us, connected. So that's where it all started.
Yeah. Now, as many of you can hear, Linda is a fellow Aussie, and I've actually got. Let me show you, just for those people who don't know. Let me bring this up. For those people who don't know where, firstly, there's Australia. So we've got Australia in the middle of the screen, and I don't know, a little bit of a geography lesson here. You can see Australia, whereabouts Australia is in the whole thing.
Zoom right down.
So we are going to come right down. So what we can see here, this is the land of the great down under. So up here, you can see this section with this, you can't see my cursor, but nonetheless, that's where I am, right there. And that's in a place called Brisbane. And this is a little bit of a geography lesson for those of you who don't know the land down under. And Linda is all the way down here in a place called Hobart, in a state called Tasmania. So it's an island state. Unfortunately, occasionally gets left off, doesn't it?
Rarely left off these days.
That's rare. Thankfully, Tasmania, everyone, is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. I love Tasmania. It's just got the most amazing scenery and very, very similar to New Zealand in many respects. In its greenery, and for those of you who know New Zealand, in fact, you can see it sits in a very similar sort of space to New Zealand. So by flying, it takes. I've been to Tasmania a number of times. In fact, I've not only flown to Tasmania, Linda. I've also taken the used to be called the Able Tasman.
Yes.
What's it called now? The boat that travels between Melbourne.
Tasmania?
The Spirit of Tasmania, yeah. Because the Able Tasman back in the 90s was a little bit. Well, actually, no. I took the Able Tasman in the 80s, and then in the 90s, in 91, I actually took the catamaran. Remember they were doing the catamaran. Anyway, people are not interested in how Daniel travelled to Tasmania.
Oh no.
So to fly from Brisbane to Tasmania is around about nearly a 3-hour flight, isn't it?
Yes. It's direct from here to Melbourne, then direct up to Brisbane, between 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah. So anyway, I share that to simply say that our relationship has been purely online, hasn't it? We haven't ever met each other. We've never had I've never had the pleasure of meeting you in person, so to speak. So I thought it would be cool. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about your Learn to Sing journey and how it is that you've got to this place. I want people in the Voice Essentials community to get to know you. And again, for those who who are new to the channel and new to watching this video, Linda also, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, very graciously offered to collate our questions as we go along in our live shows, so that I'm not sort of looking through, you know, the live chat feed to answer Q&As. And we'll do some Q&A later, and incidentally, ladies and gentlemen, we will be returning to the old school way of Daniel going through it, because Linda can't chat and collate at the same time. I'd
blow my phone up or something.
So, Linda, first of all, you're a GP by training, but that's that you often remind me that that's a yesteryear existent.
Oh, yeah, it's gone very quickly. When I look back at it now, I actually started my music actively started when I was actually learning piano. I was trained classically in piano from about 7 straight through to when I finished school, and so I actually got my associate diploma of piano just before I hit uni.
Wow.
And I did medical school. I thought, well, you know, piano was what I did. I was active, I was committed, and I sort of finished where I wanted to finish. And then I thought, well, I want to, you know, back in the days, mid-80s, I thought I need to have a plan to have a job, a paying job. And I thought, well, we have a medical background and a science background in my family. So we went into medical school, and I actually did about 2 to 3 years in hospital and a year or so out as a general practitioner before I married my husband and had a family. And then I hung up my stethoscope for a long time after that. I haven't really been back into the medical side of things for that long.
So
20 odd years.
So how long ago?
Over 20 years now.
Do you ever see yourself going back into it, or?
That's a question a lot of people have asked me, and I don't miss it. I mean, my husband works in a local general practice here, and I can understand what goes on and the pressures of the work, and it's actually really handy to have that background. There's a lot of things that don't leave you, and a lot of good experiences. Hopefully mostly good experiences, not so much, bad ones, but there's so much to catch up on. I think if you really wanted to go back, it would be a full, very heartfelt decision to have to go back and restudy and retrain, get to where you need to go to be, at the level of the education that is continuing these days. So I wouldn't go back. I've got a different sort of pathway now, so I'm decided to do this one.
So let's talk about that pathway a bit, because as you said, you started, you've taken your piano to, for those who don't know, to do letters. Was that through AMEB?
Yes.
Yeah, so the AMEB program here, everyone, in Australia is the Australian Music Examination Board, and it's kind of the nationally recognised curriculum for many instruments here in Australia that sits outside of the normal schooling curriculum, and we just refer to it as AMEB. I think there are other programs like in the UK. I think there's the Royal Academy. Is it the Royal Academy of Music?
Royal College, I think.
The Royal College of Music. There's an ANSCA, which is the New Zealand one. Am I right in thinking that?
I don't know about the New Zealand
anyway, So to take it to what's referred to as letters, and you heard Linda refer to that then as letters, that's a big deal. That's, my son's doing grade 4 currently of AMEB piano, and to take it to letters, it's such a big deal that it actually contributes to your grade 12, your senior year marks. That's how much work is involved. So you've done all this work in your piano.
Yes.
How did the singing thing come about, Linda?
Okay, it's like a bit of like hop, skip, and jump. I did piano, as you said, left it because I'm no good at multitasking, and I did basically looked after and still raising my family of, my husband. I'm not raising my husband. I'm raising my 4 children. And
Some people might think that husbands are being raised.
Sometimes it's a bit like that. But overall, so both of us, raising these kids, and it's great. But it was my full-time commitment, and we had, we have family around us as well. So people we care for and people that we devote our time to. And as it so happened, when I felt a little bit more comfortable and my kids were getting more independent and I had more time, I was interested in teaching piano. So I actually went back quite a while ago and did some small sort of time in town, in one of the colleges in town here in Hobart, and I've taught at a school here. So eventually came around to my teaching piano at home, which I still do. I have some private students come to my room down at the other end of the house, and the actual singing actually was always a passive. Well, I call it passive because I think it's what a lot of us do when we enjoy hearing a concert or we hear something on the radio, we sing along. We don't really think much about it. We enjoy doing it, but it doesn't go beyond.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I just felt this sort of real like a little flame sort of wanting to sort of be a little bit more fanned every time I watched someone perform, or if I was seeing a live act, someone singing on stage. And when one of my husband's friends, who's also a colleague at work, plays guitar, and they were doing some jamming, they knew that I played keys, they were having a band sort of idea forming. So eventually, over about 1.5 years ago, there was just for fun, there was a band started up at work, at my husband's work, and I joined that as a keyboard player and a backing vocalist, and sometimes shared lead vocals. And I thought, I think I should take this a bit more seriously. And that's where I started looking online, as we can these days, to see if there was anything that would help me take what I knew about singing a little bit further.
Yeah,
mainly to get a voice, mainly to get better, get a bit more sort of knowledge about it.
Okay. And just as we continue, apparently there's Karen has been good enough to let us know there's a little bit of an echo going on. I wonder whether I could just get you, and I'm not certain that it's actually at your end, but could I just get you to turn me down at your end? And that might just help alleviate that, and we'll continue. So, well, I hope it's fixed. I'll see if I can alter some things at my end as well. So how long ago? Let me actually, as a sort of going forward, let's. I just want to, because this is hopefully going to sort of give us a moving forward, and I'll just bring this over to here. I want to show people something here. I'm just getting the right screen ready. So on the community tab of the channel, I asked this question during I think it was last Friday, and we've had nearly 330 votes. I think it's 330 votes. So let me just refresh. 328 votes, and I asked the question: what form of voice tuition have you gained the most from? And as you've just discussed, you came into this basically via the YouTube Learn to Sing Online kind of thing. And 60%, as we can see here, 60% of people have found that the YouTube Learn to Sing channels have been the most productive for them. What was your experience when you started? How long ago did you start to engage with the online singing thing?
When I became slightly more technically able to do things like find YouTube and things like that, I was prone to, I think we all are prone to, the people who advertise. Okay, so whoever has the biggest advertisement
Yes.
is going to come up first.
Yeah.
And so my personal experience was I had initially Per Bristow, I had a look at his, I can't even remember, Singing for Freedom, something like that. Was that long ago. I actually ordered his free DVD set, which I still got, and then I did look around, so getting really closing in on the time I found you. I found Ken Tamplin, and then when I started seeing, and I think you ask specific questions as well. It's like you Google, how can I make my voice be stronger? How can I sing higher without, a transitioning problem? And then up came Dr. Dan. So as soon as you start to find someone that at first you get answers from, you feel that they have good qualifications, good knowledge, and there's a bit of a sense of understanding that you can identify, and I'm saying specifically you can identify, say, where I was coming from with a question, and you can respond to it. That's when that becomes a bit more encouraging. You don't feel that your answers, your questions don't get answered, or your limit of inquiry is just that. It just stops where they stop. So
Yes.
I felt I could go a bit further once I started going down the track of voice essentials. That's basically how I got slowly into.
Yeah, great. Yeah. And I think it is important, even at this point, that we state that today is not going to be. Look, I think naturally you're going to be out of your own experience. You've had, thankfully, a positive experience in connecting with myself. But in fact, this is not what we're not wanting to do today. Is to bad note anyone else, or
no.
I think we ultimately all resonate with different personalities, don't we? And
absolutely.
And I wonder to what extent your experience even as having a medical background, the fact that I have higher qualifications. And maybe that spoke to you as well in part. I'd like to think that that's not all of it, because we've now had nearly 12 months of online singing lessons together, and I'd like to think that there's, that you got behind the shop front window and found that the qualifications are real and those sorts of things.
Right. And quite honestly, you don't see that first, I think, when you're meeting someone. I mean, it might just come up later, and of course, yeah, I mentioned that I did piano like that, but it's not, to me, that is a box ticked, and that shows that someone's put in the work, someone's been through, if you like, a certified course and a national standard, if you like. So there is a standard, and because there are so many people who teach so many things on YouTube now, and you can be anybody without those qualifications. And I'm not saying that having years of experience, which a lot of professional musicians have, and don't have those letters, that counts for something.
It certainly does.
But there is that element of when you want a one-on-one lesson, or you actually want to commit to paying for lessons, you want to know what you're getting.
Yes.
And then, the rest of it is probably the bulk of it for me is the fact that there is experience behind what you're teaching. The people who are talking about music, or about singing specifically, really understand it, because they've gone through the same thing over their years of learning it, over their years of performing it.
Yeah.
I subscribe to Karen's Sing Wise Vocals.
As everyone should.
And so there's just so much experience in what she teaches there.
Yes.
And it's personal experience.
Yeah.
That just goes to show, and your other guests have been on before, they've made their mistakes, and so they've learned from it. So they're sharing what they know, because sooner or later, if you're going to go down the track of learning something, you're bound to make mistakes. They're just sort of giving you a bit of warning along the way, so you're not going to feel so stupid when you make the same.
How long were you gleaning from my channel and a number of other channels before you reached a point that you went, I need to? And what was it in that point that caused you to go, I need to invest
further. I need to, because as I said, you know, we saw that 60% of people who have voted on that little poll, little straw poll, have said that, you know, they feel that they've gained mostly from the online singing, learn to sing channels, which are all free.
That's it. That's the big thing. It's free, and a lot of them are really, really good. You know, the short tips and advice that you can get from a handful of different ones, they can all be good. And what I found the difference, I hope this answers the question, and it's that you need to focus on one so that you can get, and this is what I wanted a committed plan to take my progress and my learning in a really strategic way, in a positive direction that was more, I suppose, more efficient in one way.
Okay.
A direct path. I think that had I gone and stayed with maybe several different YouTube channels, I may have got good advice, but it would still be very general. It wouldn't have been focused. It wouldn't have applied to my particular circumstances, I guess.
And I think that's probably, I think you've really identified the main thing about the Learn to Sing space on YouTube is as hard as ones like myself and Karen, as hard as we try to give really good, well-researched quality information here online, it has to be general by nature. It can't, because at the moment I have, I think it's somewhere between 60 to 70 individual clients. At any given moment I see between 60 to 70 individual clients over a 2-week period. There is no one single voice that's the same. There is no one single voice that is dealing with the same stuff at the same time. And the challenge of, I think, the moment, if you only remain online in that free YouTube space, then you are requiring yourself to really have to very skillfully, and some people can do this, and I'm not saying that this is it's completely an insurmountable task, but it's a very difficult one, to completely take what is very general information and refine it down to being able to be specifically applied to you as an individual. Was that a part of what sort of triggered you to going, no, can you identify a point at which you went, no, I need to invest in,
Yeah. It's a few things were happening like that around the same time. I think I really needed some advice, some wise advice and personally directed advice, because I was actually not just singing for myself and having a passive time of it. I was actually singing in a band with other people who, we depend on each other to function properly, and we're putting it out to other people who are going to want to listen to us and hopefully enjoy what we do. So I wanted to make sure that I was doing the right thing as far as the singing goes. And the other thing was, I think, that I was ready to commit, because I just realized that something inside was saying, this is actually more than just a hobby now. It's not an interest that I can do when I've got time, when it's convenient, when everything else is done. This was something I was actually stepping up to another level and saying, well, I'm ready to commit to invest the work, I guess, I know it's the work that I have to do, and having regular lessons, commit to the time, put that time aside. And I was willing to give that a go, and I really wanted to give it a go. I was hitting 50 that last year. I was going to hit the big 50, and I said, well, this is my present to myself. I've got to do something, and I'll keep on with it, because it's been very meaningful. It's actually been a very meaningful commitment.
What do you think has been the main, when you compare this chapter where you are receiving individual one-on-one instruction, what do you feel? And I really want to gain. I need to, because this is really sounding like an upsell here, and it's not designed to be an upsell, everyone. I'm really and I haven't prepped Linda on. We talked through what we might discuss, but I haven't prepped Linda on not handing her some dollars under the table here. But I am really keen, Linda, to find out, what do you feel, having gone from that chapter where you were eagerly engaged in the free material online in YouTube, to now is it 12 months that we've been doing lessons?
Yeah, I look back on my records, and I started in May last year.
Okay, so we're just over 12 months.
Yeah.
And they've been fortnightly lessons online. So they've been, in fact, we've just connected for this talk exactly like we connect every second Thursday. What has been the major things that you can personally observe in your own development, in your own voice, when you compare it to the chapter of time when you were just gleaning the free generalized stuff?
Okay. The biggest thing is discipline, actually. And that's an overall discipline. Not just, and with the aim of putting your voice and your vocal skills, in the right order. It's much more structured, and it's not meant to be structured in a really horribly difficult school fashioned way. It's something that I was not good at before. I would just take what I could find advice wise, and I'd try it for a while, and maybe it would work, maybe it wouldn't work. But because I didn't have anyone to bounce that off, who was able to compare myself to bouncing it off them again next week, it didn't really lead me anywhere. I was none the wiser for it. So having a strategy that I could follow and say, well, if I can do this now and do it this way, and this is what your voice is like, and it would benefit from ABC, I felt that was far more rewarding and therefore encouraging in very small amounts than, twice or three times as long not having that instruction. So I think that's where the payoff was. And I've actually seen, things that I couldn't do, what I describe as couldn't do, or was really, by my own description, not very happy with, change over the time. And I don't think I would have done that if I'd have just, and rare occasions people can do it. Like you said, there's going to be the rare people who will just take things and work 10 hours a day on it. I needed something that I could put aside, go to a lesson, work on it, and then over time actually look back and see that actually it's worked, which is nothing like that's happened before. Nothing actually worked like that before. So it's part and parcel of lessons and self-discipline.
And we have, I've encouraged you with this before. We have definitely seen an improvement in your voice, and
Yay.
that because you're a very diligent student, and one cannot underestimate the importance of that piece of information. You are a very diligent student. I love working with people, and this is why I love working with you, Linda, is you come to every lesson with questions, born out of the experience of both your practice and your performance between sessions. And as a singing teacher, that's very rewarding, because you can see I get to see you implementing intentionally the work that we've been doing, and that's why you're getting so much value out of it, I think. And I've just lost my train of thought there for a second. can we just very briefly also observe that I think a good part of the value of these of one-on-one lessons is something you touched on, and that is the confidence that develops as a part of receiving that feedback. One thing that YouTube cannot do, in fact, it can't do a number of things. It can't be individualized. It can't diagnose. Let me qualify that term because if it could be misinterpreted. In fact, I can't diagnose a voice. The only person that can medically diagnose a voice is a laryngologist or an ear, nose and throat doctor. So when I say diagnose, I mean identify those aspects of the sound that need to be altered or changed or manipulated in a particular direction. And you also can't be told when you're getting it right. And this is, it's so important, not only that a student of a voice have someone to reflect back to them when they're getting it wrong, it is equally, if not more important, for a student of singing to know when they're, to have it identified that, yes, that's it. What you just did, do that again. And YouTube can't do that for you, can it?
No, and it means a lot when you get that that feedback. It's nice to be told, I think, by people that you sound good, or you've done something, you sound good. It's always pleasing. That is a compliment. But then when it comes to having worked on something that you haven't been able to do before, and it just takes time.
Yeah.
So you get back what you put into it. But I think from an instructive point of view, you can't really appreciate that yourself. And unless there's a trained ear around you consistently, or who can hear you and hear what you like, you don't get that feedback until someone says to you, well, you've done that right now and you've done the right things to work towards it. So, good on you. You can do it.
No, yeah, absolutely. Now, I want to just also identify, before we kind of move to a Q&A, and then we'll do a few question and answers. There was a question asked earlier in the show in the live chat stream, which we'll go back to soon. But before we close up, I also just want to talk to the very fact that what good singing lessons shouldn't do is make you reliant on the teacher either. And I think that's a really important point. I think some people can get very scared that by exposing their voice or connecting their voice to the instruction of a quality singing teacher, that they will become somehow, I don't know what the right word is, but where they become sort of codependent with the teacher. And good instruction shouldn't do that, should it? Good instruction should empower the individual development of the voice so that the singer is empowered to develop themselves. And in fact, this is where I think the YouTube space actually is value add to, and for a lot of my individual students, a lot of my private students, I'm always encouraging them to go and watch, I must admit, my videos for value add aspects. And I know, for example, Linda, you comment on all of my videos, which is again lovely.
I'm close to being a stalker, but not quite.
No. Well, if you're a stalker, Linda, you're the best kind. I think it's not. And this is where, and as we sort of close up today's discussion, which I've really enjoyed, and hey, if you've enjoyed today's discussion as well, make sure you give the video a thumbs up and encourage Linda with and thank her for being a part of our show. But it's not our discussion today. Hopefully, people can hear that we're not saying that online YouTube lessons are not of value. They are, and hence. That's why I'm coming towards 400 videos on the channel. So I'm a person that believes very strongly in the value of them, but it's making sure it's obtaining the right value for the right reasons and understanding what that's going to serve. Do you have any final thoughts about your experience and what you've gained and what have you?
I think that's a good question. I think that the big picture is in having lessons and wanting to sing is you have to really have a fairly clear goal of where you want to, roughly where you want to go to. I say a clear goal and then it's a bit rough, but you do want to improve, but that has to be your one goal. You can't have, well, I'll be a little bit good at singing and that's good enough, and then I'll try a bit of something else if that doesn't work out. I think if you find, like I found that I really loved it. That's how it's come about over all these years of putting it on a back burner. And a lot of I've had adult piano students who have put learning piano on hold for years. They had family, they had career, they have, sick parents to look after. This is all the sort of stuff that life throws at you and you deal with it. And if your goal and your passion is still there and you still want to do this, I don't want to waste any more time. I set a goal and I think, well, I've forgotten where I was going to go with this now. I'd say it's something that's got to be worth its while because you have meaning in it. And with lessons on YouTube can actually give you your tools to apply to your own development. I think if that makes sense.
Yes.
That you can teach things, and I wouldn't be absolutely imitating or parrot fashioning the way you sing or the way someone else sings. That's not your tool, your way to develop yourself. I think what you have is to understand the instruction you've been given. I'm trying to think about how I teach my students piano. I look at what they need and what they like and where they're coming from. And try and apply it so that they can take it that little step further on their own. And they have to do the work on their own. I can't be with them between now and the next lesson. And then I observe how that's gone. And then they give me feedback, and then we try and go back and forth with that. But it has to be something that you almost internalize.
And one final question. How have you found the online singing lesson experience? Because it is, I know it's very different to me having students here in the studio. How have you found that for people who may be thinking, oh yeah, I'd like to do some singing lessons, and maybe they're in an area that doesn't have a qualified singing teacher that they would feel comfortable obtaining lessons with, and they're thinking maybe I'd like to do some online sessions, not only with myself. Karen does online sessions, I believe. There's a variety of really high quality singing teachers worldwide who teach lessons online. Of course I do as well, and you can get a link in the description section below to learn more. But how have you found the experience of doing singing lessons online?
Okay. Well, it's extremely convenient.
Yes.
That's number one. I mean, I can just go make myself, my tea, and I can just hop down and there you go, you're on. So as soon as as long as you're connected, as long as you've got good reception and you've got your device, you can have your lesson. That would be the only, if I could say, if there's a plus side, the minus side. I mean, the plus side is all the things you've already mentioned, the one-to-one, face-to-face interaction. It's literally as good as, you can hear what I'm singing like, you can tell what I look like, if I'm straining, if I'm jumping my neck out the wrong way. And I think the only thing wrong if there was something to be said about being wrong, is that you just rely on technology to not fail you.
Yes,
while you're in the middle of it.
And we have had, haven't we, a couple of times where the technology
has problems every now and again,
failed
but nothing
us.
we couldn't overcome. Yeah.
Yes, we worked through that.
Yeah, but it's great. And as I said before, if I'm in a horrible state and I can still vaguely sing, but I don't want to not have my lesson, I could still be a bit sick. Whereas if I had a personal one-to-one lesson I had to travel out for and then risk making you sick because I was in the same room with you for a lesson, then, you know, that's got its own drawbacks as well.
That's true.
One-to-one lessons are great. Yeah.
Yeah, I had not thought of that as a plus, but I think you've just identified one.
Plus.
Yeah, that is a big plus. Yeah, I mean, yes, at least 5 to 10 times a week, I've got sick people walking in and singing all over me. So to one point, to one level, I've developed a bit of a tougher. I don't know, what do we refer to it as?
Constitution.
Constitution. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
That's okay.
On another, the benefits of online sessions are that you can't, you know, whilst my computer could catch a virus, I can't. So that's good. Let's thank you so much for hanging out today. For those of you who may have thought you were going to be jumping on and we were supposed to be having a session with Dr. Gillian Kays and Jeremy Fisher, but due to just on both their account and my account, we just completely didn't realise that would mean that they would have to be up at 4:30 a.m. to join me. So, because they're in the UK, you see. So that was when this opportunity came up, and when Dr. Kays and Jeremy Fisher decided no. Probably wisely so. We even talked about moving the time. In the end, you know what, we'll try for a different time. That was when this opportunity came up for you, Linda, to join me. And I said to Linda last week, hey, what do you reckon? We'll do this. Can I just say in front of the whole Voice Essentials community, Linda, how honoured and thankful I have been that you have been so gracious to step up and take what is a really important role here in the community, especially with the live hangouts and collecting the Q&A, which I'm going to do the old school way now, and we're going to fumble through it. And
I love the community. I just want to say to one of you very quickly, because you did ask before. I think it's a great community, and I think it's almost like meeting a pen pal that you've never met before. You've got about 10 pen pals, or something like that you've been typing back and forth from, and it's actually a real pleasure. I think I'm hyperventilating because I'm getting tingly from the excitement, but apart from that, I'm fine, and I really appreciate that you asked me on.
Yeah, no, it's been good to have you, and I love the community too, and that has become more so the overarching drive and reason I do this now is for the community. It's, you know, I think most YouTubers, most Learn to Sing channels start out as, you know, a vigilante, and I'm going to show people how it's done, and I'm probably no different, you know. I thought, you know, I was going to, you know, show people research, fact-based information, and that I was soon slapped into place by a few people online. I still think that there's more space online on YouTube for better information, and ones like Karen's channel are fabulous for this. But nonetheless, my main drive now for this channel is the community. You know, ones like Matt and Yuhui and yourself and Karen and Fahimuchi, which I always get his name wrong, and so many people, Moa Power and Kimberly and all these people that jump in regularly to watch the live shows.
That's good fun.
It is good fun, and we're good. It's a safe. What I love about it is that, for the most part, it's a safe community. You know, this learning to sing thing is a very vulnerable space, isn't it? But, you know, for the most part, I think what we're building here together, not just me, not you, Linda, but all of us are building a safe space where we can do this very vulnerable, often very insecure process of learning to sing together. So that's very good. Now, we've nearly talked our time away. I am going to come back. We are going to answer one question which was asked at the very top of the show, and then we're going to finish off. Stick around. We'll be right back after this. Okay, so the question that I'm going to answer is from Mark, and it's right back up here at the very top of the program. And it was Mark who asked, I was wondering if you could go over your favourite exercise for blending registers and developing vibrato. Mark, two different questions there. He says here, I'm fairly confident in my resonance and tone, but those areas I'm struggling with. So Mark, what I'm going to do is direct you to a video on the channel about vibrato. If you go to the channel, click on the video page, and just go looking for the video about vibrato. That you can look at that there. There is another video about registration and transition for blending registers. And in fact, I've got a video about voice registration transitions and a video about mixed voice, which is kind of that blending. There's a number of exercises you can do with this. I still think a great activity is some bubbles. And in fact, I've got a new video that will be going live during July. So, hey everyone, just so you know, we aren't hanging out here for the next 4 weeks as a live hangout. We'll be back in 4 weeks, but there will be the pre-record videos are going to continue to come out on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So make sure you subscribe and hit the white bell icon. How many times do I say that? The bell white icon. I always say it like that, Linda. I don't know why. Anyway, hit the white bell icon and you'll be notified of those. So I've got a new video coming out where we're going to be talking about sirens, specifically 3 different types of sirens. One of them is beneficial, and I'll do it with you now, is beneficial in working on register transitions and blending through. And that is just a single lip bubble. So just actually lip bubbling all the way round and doing it in such a way that you're mindful to not and lock up, but you can hear my sick voice not quite getting that movement up as smoothly as I'd like. There, see, that cuts out, and that's my voice. I've been really good. I haven't coughed all during the session today, but even before we went live, wasn't I, Linda, was coughing? And
you have a good cough.
I need more water, is what I need. So that hopefully, Mark, will be helpful to you, and we literally do not have any more time for questions today, simply because I've got a student that's about to walk through the door. He's about to knock any moment. So I'm going to say goodbye to you, Linda. And you stick around for a moment after this show, but I'm just going to.
Thank you very much.
Oh, let me come back to you. Hang on a second. You can have a say goodbye. My apologies.
Say goodbye to everyone. Thank you very much for having me on. It's actually been gobsmackingly thrilling. So I really had fun. It's really been good. So and it's nice to say hi to everyone. This is
and I think it'll be wonderful for people to be able to see you and be able to put a face to names. So that's really good. And look, we may get the opportunity to do this again in the future, where we get some of you from the community onto the channel and talk about your experience and your journey. Until we have that opportunity, though, I want to invite you, if you haven't ever subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Become a part of this really awesome community of people who, just like you, are looking to develop their voice, improve their sound, and by being a part of the Voice Essentials community, you know you're going to be surrounded by a really encouraging community, an encouraging group of people I hope you've enjoyed today's live hangout as much as I have, as much as Linda has, and I look forward to seeing you in Wednesday's video, which you'll get to watch that on Wednesday, but live, I won't get to see you for another 4 weeks. So I look forward to doing that. When we come back and we talk to Chris Johnson from Naked Vocalist. What is that all about? We will find out in 4 weeks. I look forward to seeing you again soon. My name is Dr. Dan. Sing well.